And welcome back, everyone, to Zanpakuto Creation Series. Today's comes to us from Ricardo Player 1, who had already asked the question a while back, what was Sam Winchester's Zanpakuto? So it only makes sense to talk about Dean Winchester's Zanpakuto. Now, with Sam, there was a cool way to integrate plot into his Zanpakuto due to the demon blood angle, and then like how it played out. Dean is a little bit tougher to do that with. Not to say it's impossible, and I did lean towards an angle with this, but just because Dean doesn't have as many plot elements that affect his soul. Sam literally has been soulless. He was fed demon blood as a baby. He is designated like the perfect host for Lucifer, while Dean is designated the perfect host for Michael. Apart from that, there hasn't been a lot to happen to Dean that would affect his soul in the same way as Sam. Mind you, we're only on season 7, me and my girlfriend. I haven't started season 7 yet, so I do know about things that happen later in the series that we're going to address. But regardless, Sam just had the easier out for me to do that with. That being said, let's get into this. What type of Zanpakuto is this? I'd say it's kind of a melee type, but it certainly has a Keto ability with it. But it's mostly just for melee. Its sealed say as a katana. Its release is go for blood. And, to spoil the Shikai here real quick, its name is the First Blade. Now, and why? There we go. That was odd. Anyway. So yeah, its name is the First Blade. Now its Bankai's name is the First Blade, Darkness Release, its name is Sasho no Ha. Its Bankai is Sasho no Ha Yami ga. Oh god, this name Kahasoretsu. Now its spirit probably looks something not exactly like his dad, but something that reminds him of an older, grizzled like veteran hunter or something like that looks similar to his father, because that was probably the biggest influence in his life. And obviously, as you can see here, we're leaning towards the First Blade. This is something that, because of the Market Cane, definitely directly affected Dean and affected his soul on some level. So that's something we really we can lean in towards here. Now, with Sam, he had to consume his Zanpakuto actually let him consume Hollow Reiatsu, all that. Here, I think this is something where we can lean into the idea that maybe he became a visor at some point. But regardless, even without the visor angle for now, it would take the form of something at least looking akin to the First Blade. I'm not saying it would be a 1-to-1. It wouldn't just be bone, teeth, all that. It probably would look something similar to that. Like a jawbone, probably a little longer than that. So probably a slightly larger animal. But so that is a little more. That is over. It's roughly the size of a Bowie knife, roughly. It's a little bigger than Bowie, so go a little larger than that. So maybe it shrinks down more to the size of like a Wakizashi, but still looks like, roughly speaking, the jawbone of an animal. And in essence, the Shikai I think, works similar to the way that the Overkill works with Driscoll, the Stern Ritter O, and that the more he kills, the more he gets a physical amp. Because really, the Market Cane helped, A, prevented Dean from dying, B, definitely gave him resistance to demon abilities, and physically enhanced him to a certain degree. When combined with the First Blade, it basically, and that's combined with the First Blade. And the First Blade allowed him to pretty much kill just about anyone. So, because otherwise, without the Market Cane, it's useless. Now, we're not using that angle here, but we're still going to kind of apply a little bit to it. It's nothing more than a standard like blade until it starts killing. Then Dean starts getting amped up. And he starts just getting physically stronger. His Reiatsu gets higher and higher and higher. Now, if we're going with a visored angle here, we can make the argument that his hollow mask maybe could actually trigger a stronger version of this, where maybe his Reiatsu starts to pour off him and leaks off him. But if not, if we don't go with the visor angle, then I would actually go with saying the Bankai. Now with the Bankai, I don't actually see him the sword changing at all. I don't see like the First Blade changing size at all. I think maybe it loses the teeth and just becomes a bit more jagged and ready for like damage. But what does happen is I think the Shikai and the Bankai need to be used in tandem. The Shikai, as you are building up your power on Ryatsu, when you activate the Bankai, it literally just starts to now pour off you. And you can now utilize your Ryatsu in like a very combat-oriented way. It's firing off energy waves, using it to like strengthen your defenses, enhance the length of your sword. It's kind of like just bleeding off you. And as long as you keep killing in the Bankai, you can maintain the Bankai indefinitely. So I think it's a unique Bankai in that sense that if you're just going up against an army of hollows, you activate this Bankai, you just keep slaughtering them. You're just going to keep going and honestly keep getting stronger. Now, there would be a catch-22 in the fact that because the Marcocaine and the First Blade basically drive you into a murder frenzy, kind of. You need to kill. You feel sick if you don't kill. So because of that, I feel like that the amount of blood, like this thing is like hungry for blood, is what it is, or Ryatsu, whatever. So if you're not giving it that much, every time you activate it, you're gonna feel sick for a while after you deactivate it. Also, I think in Bankai form, he does go into kind of something similar to Kenpachi, where Kenpachi's Bankai obviously just turns him into a mindless, like, just brutal monster looking to just cut down his enemies and just fight. Now, obviously with training, maybe that's changed. I see something similar here where it's not so much he's a mindless monster, is that he's seeing so much red and so bloodlusted that, yeah, you can talk to him, but yeah, all his reason is gone. All his judgment is gone. You can still have a conversation with him, but he's just going to keep killing until he's satisfied. Now, in terms of strengths and weaknesses, this is not something you say pull out against Yamamoto. This is not something you pull up against Ichibei with. Like the heavy hitters, I don't care how strong Dean is, the heavy hitters, you need to, the inherent strength of the Zanpakuto is also its biggest weakness. That the fact that it could just pile on and keep getting stronger and stronger after beating a lot of smaller, weaker individuals is pretty awesome. But that means Dean, similar to like, honestly, a Sakanari's Bankai, Hapa Futsugari, is really at his best when he's fighting multiple foes and even like mass hordes of them. If he's not, then one-on-one, this is really nothing more than a blade. And that's all it is. It's just a blade. He's no good on one-on-one combat. Even if, say, he goes through a horde of individuals and then he goes up against like the big boss and then activates Bankai. He's still Ryatsu to Ryatsu. It's difficult to say whether or not you're going to. By the way, the proportion to how strong Dean gets, I don't really have a deciding factor on that. Could be based on the opponent he killed. Maybe the Ryatsu gets temporarily absorbed in him, or maybe it's just kind of like a standard multiplier or addition kind of thing. Take your pick. But again, against stronger, superior foes, not going to be all that good. While it does give much more leeway and give a bit more versatility in Bankai with Ryatsu pouring off you, acting kind of like fire, or just an ability to defend and attack with. It's still just basic. There's not a lot of nuance to it. So Yamamoto, for example, would just overwhelm his Ryatsu with his flames. Kenpachi is just a Reishi monster, so he would just kind of like be like, "Is that all you got?" Aizen could still Kyokusui Getsu him. Ichibei would still take his name away. Like, there's no real hard, like, this thing is not a real nuanced weapon. It's a pretty basic weapon. Sam's was a lot more nuanced than Dean's was, which would make sense. Sam is the more of the brains of the operation between the two of them, to be fair. But anyway, that is what I decided to go with for Dean Zanpakuto. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.